Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we are going to be looking at the 7 deadly sins of jungling. Yes, that's right, we had the 10 commandments of jungling, we had the 10 commandments of ganking, but since those videos I've done a lot of coaching, made a lot of challenger breakdowns on this channel, and essentially what I've noticed is that a lot of you are sinners. And no, I don't mean it by your early game Feast of Famine champions or your obsession with, Black Cleaver. I'm talking about all the jungle fundamentals you think you do right, but you don't. I'm talking about all the things you should be doing in order to climb and perfect your craft, and yet you don't. So hopefully we can have a little fun with this more simple video approach, but that it also gives you some things to think about as we head to the end of Season 10, and this will be good for Season 11, and I will refer to relevant changes in this video. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please consider leaving a like and of course subscribing. And now without hesitation, let's repent your souls. And of course, the first of the deadly sins is lust. Now this is one of the most fundamental things about jungling, is that you must learn to give things up. Don't go for a red buff level 3 invade if you don't have the laners to support or you don't have the lane prio. Don't overchase for a gank early in the game into a minion wave and wonder why your top lane is watching you. Maybe they've got an absolute giga big brain freeze and you decided, now I'm gonna run in and try and kill the Fiora. And now you give them double buffs. To once again paraphrase Obi-Wan, you don't want to let your lust for power turn your laners against you. Junglers must let the game come to them. That is one of our biggest traits. Let the nature of the game flow through you. Watch the lane states, watch when you can invade, track the enemy jungler. Don't overgreed and overlust for crabs, dragons, objectives. Don't overstay. And yes, in the case here, I'm using the word greed. I really do mean lust, because you are lusting for the crab. I must have it. Yeah, there's a bit of crossover and we'll talk about that in the greed section, but the absolute blind desire to secure certain things on the map can really harm yourself and your team from game to game. Learn to give things up, control your instincts, and have a much more measured approach to the game that will allow you to get fed and, actually carry while everyone loves you. And that transitions nicely to the next point, because the easiest way for your laners to hate you and to carry with everyone disliking your existence is to be a gluttonous fool. Don't take all the farm when you gank a lane, don't tax all the kills, don't ruin their freeze. If you're a 10-0 and you have a Draven who really wants to cash out, don't KS it. I know YouTube is filled with clickbait and 1,000 kills and dominating 1v9s, but one of the biggest tenets in all my gameplay breakdowns is that I teach you and try to convey this point of carrying within the means of your champion and allowing your team to also flourish, play around them. Don't play against them for no reason. By unnecessarily taxing the trade routes, by unnecessarily, flashing in to secure a herald, just like in Worlds. Sure, you may pick up micro advantages here and there, but at the end of the day, your team's gonna hate you, the enemy team's gonna laugh at you, and you're not gonna have as concrete of a lead that you think. In addition, when you complain every game that you have trolls on your team, people inting and frustrated, while it's not always necessarily your fault, if you are being gluttonous, what can happen is you sort of tilt people that were already tilted over the edge. And that's the last thing you want to do in 2020 and most likely 2021, because the world already has enough chaos. Now, talking about lusting for power and lusting to get leads when you really didn't need to, I mentioned the word greed, and there's a little bit of overlay there, but specifically greediness in jungling is not thinking about lanes relevant to your own pathing, your game plan. How often do I start a coaching by saying, right, what do you think about the lanes, which is gankable? How many times in those challenger videos do we talk about why a jungler has certain pathing? And the usual endgame to that is, actually taking advantage of the enemy jungler, cutting them off, setting counter ganks, or going towards the lane that's the most volatile or perhaps has the most CC to be gankable in order for you to actually help them get a lead and help yourself get a lead. Too often early jungle pathing, and again I am a sinner for this as well, is thinking about the enemy jungler and then annihilating their presence, which is great, it's great if you have winning lanes and you can do that. But really sometimes the game isn't all about you, and it's not about you feeding yourself with your own greed. It's about thinking, what, maybe my laners do require this of me because I understand not only the lane state but also the lane matchup. Team play and having everyone with a good lead is significantly better than one person who has all the gold for themselves. And now the fourth sin that we must avoid committing is becoming a sloth. As much as everyone likes Sid from Ice Age, I know I do, lazy pathing, lazy rotation, lazy vision, lazy setup of objectives, what happens when you add that all up? That's right, you lose. And that's why I stress it so much. Even in the Worlds video I just released, I spoke a lot about Inspired's pathing his Hecarim to avoid running into Canyon. Yes, he had a huge domination of the map, but there were no kills because he wasn't lazy by just face checking. No one just walked into the bush and said, my Raptors are gone, that sucks. Because if he did that, he would have died. It also means when you know there's vision and you're going for a gank, go the long way, abuse the pockets of the fog of war that exist and understand where they exist. If you see your team having an ego battle in the river, make sure you ditch your Krugs, they're gonna be there for you, and rotate to help for the fight. This is a very Korean strategy I talk a lot about. Your farm will be there for you afterwards. And yes, in Season 11, you mustn't be a sloth for taking those Krugs. I mentioned, finishing the camp, all the experience and gold is being shifted even more so onto the extreme babies. Now you have to take the large ones, you have to take the medium ones, and you have to take the babies. So the time of investment is now better for the return, but only if you aren't lazy about it. But don't think, I really have to finish this camp and I don't really want to go to that fight. It's okay if you do, but you are being a sloth, you're going to cost your team advantages, and you're not going to be able to get fed like you know you deserve. This is also a problem in pro play. Laners will set up great freezes that are temporary and allow themselves basically a gankable lane, but the jungler says, you know what, I'm Lilia, I have to full sequence, I'm sorry, I don't want to rotate. But I mean, you're Lilia, or maybe you're playing Hecarim. It's very easy to rotate, it's very easy to pick up free kills, help your team, and then fall back to your camps afterwards. But really, the biggest thing here is the lazy setup of objectives. I don't see junglers going back enough with a minute left to get wards around the area, to scan everything up. Look at my match history playing some support. Over 100 vision 2 games in a row, and the games were not that long. Most supports, and again, this isn't really unique to jungling, won't have this kind of vision with these short game times. Moving the vision constantly is what allows this to evolve. Using your scanner intelligently is what allows you to destroy ward lives. Again, we do not respect them whatsoever. And while you won't have as much vision score as a jungler, think of it as a battle with your support. They don't have Sightstone early, so try and match their vision score and try and have a higher score than them until they, become ward bots and just have to spam click it. This is probably one of the biggest reasons you don't climb. It's one of the biggest reasons you don't get out of diamond. You're not spamming the games, and you're not doing all these things, these little things, the hard work. In the words of the U.GG t-shirt, Wardman gets paid. Except, don't throw yourself a 3-1 lead, that's just embarrassing. And Wrath is the 5th thing on this list. Think of this as a, you hurt me, I hurt you. You take from me, I take from you. There is a good Wrath and a bad Wrath. The good one is the one we're going to talk about that you should be doing. The bad one is when you just chase people to the ends of the earth to, get your revenge for whatever they did. But the good Wrath, the measured one, is where you take it out on the map rather than the champion. It is a sin to take it on the champion, but on the map, that is savant level god jungling. So in a devilish twist, I will focus on that. If the enemy jungler ganks, say, top lane, and you are farming bottom lane, you should not think, well, you know what, that top laner, he's my neighbor, he's a good soul, and he's being killed because he didn't ward, tough luck for him, I'm gonna keep farming my own camps and just ignoring everything else around me. Yeah, contrary to popular belief, isolationism isn't always that great. If he's ganking top lane and bottom camps are up, and of course you pay attention to lane prio, go take them. Maybe secure a dragon. Just maybe you can lane gank and kill them on the bottom side. Very rarely, if a jungler's making a play, there isn't something else you can do to exact your revenge, your wrath on the map. And if you get cheesed by, an Ivern or Shaco level 1, make their whole game miserable. Basically, the whole game is you exacting your revenge on their faces, on their team, and taking away their LP. They want to play something degenerate like Shaco, that's what they deserve. If the enemy jungler is off the field through death because they're bad, obliterate their team. Take his camps, take objectives. If the king has left his army, the last thing you go is, you know what? I'll wait for the king to come back so he can rally morale and everyone can fight? No, of course not. If the king leaves his army, he's just brought dishonor upon himself and you win the war. Always look for that counterplay. Every time he hurts you and your team, exact your wrath. And at the same time, I'm gonna sneak this in. Know which is red or blue smite, because that will allow you to exert destruction in the correct way. If you're against a Hecarim, using blue smite makes a lot of sense. If you're going against a Rengar or Kha'Zix, then most likely red smite. Obviously, certain champions have different setups, like Volibear, which always wants a blue smite. But in Season 11, remember, the jungle item is changing. You basically get that upgrade for free. So you have to decide at the first moment which one you want to go. The future has many paths. Choose wisely. The 6th is envy. This sin is a little bit simple, but if the enemy jungler dominates and gets a lead and basically you get jungle gapped, it's not your team's fault. Don't flame them, don't be jealous, simply reflect, look at the VOD and see where it happened. If you are committing any one of the other 6 sins, you don't get to be jealous. Use it as a learning moment, learn to improve. And subsequently, if you know someone, if you're watching someone on stream, if you have a friend that ranks higher than you, please don't get envious of their position. It is a horrible trait. Use it as motivation. You see Thorn Avengers, don't think, oh, I wish I had one eye and a magical hammer. Go and get yourself one. Well, that's probably not the most realistic example, but hopefully you get the point. And I highly recommend you keep both your eyes. I mean, you can just wear an eye patch if you want to look like that. And finally, following on from that, pride. Oh, let me tell you, this is a big one. And it's not really just for junglers, it's for everyone. It's what SOFM does so well for his team. Understanding 1. Your win conditions and your limitations as a champion. You might be playing a strong early game jungler that has a lot of skill expression, but if you don't exactly get fed or have the priority to win, it's okay to be a stun bot. It's okay to peel. Just play to your role, play to the best of your ability within that capacity, become the Dwight Howard of your team. Maybe one day you were an all-star, maybe the game before you 1v9'd, but now you're an energy guy that supports the team and helps them bring home a championship. Don't be too proud to take on a lesser role in order to win a game. This also extends greatly beyond the end screen. I see in my Discord, the comments, Twitter, Reddit, everywhere. Look at my teammates, they are the reason I didn't win. Now sometimes you have a troll, sometimes you just cannot win a game. That is realistic and that's what's going to happen. But you are the only common thread in your game and you are a jungler. You impact the map. If you have low gank ability, low vision score, low kill participation from game to game, your teammates are not the problem, and do not be too proud to admit that. And yes, I'm aware that envy and pride have sort of a more mental state to the game, but as junglers it's important that our brains are big, bulbous, and thriving, and ultimately you are the key to victory in all your games, whether you're the 1v9 carry, whether you're carrying a 4v5, or whether simply you are Lee Sin with Knight's Vow to keep your ADC alive. And there you have it, 7 deadly sins of jungling and the game, what you should not be doing, what you need to correct in order to carry, win, and climb. I hope this video, along with the 10 commandments of jungling, allows you to isolate areas of your game that need improvement. Be on the lookout for many more videos in October as we head to Season 11. I will try to keep everything ready and relevant for the new season. Don't forget to please subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.